What if you could reverse engineer your competitors' successes to see what they're doing better? Like maybe they're doing better on Google, social media, or just better in general.
Here's the thing though, you can. Conducting competitive analysis has never been easier, and it's something you should be keeping an eye on regularly.
To talk all about it, we're bringing back our Chief Marketing Officer, Thomas von Ahn, to talk all about it.
Today on The Obsessed Marketer, let's talk about competitive analysis.
Welcome back to The Obsessed Marketer, the podcast designed for you, the small business owner looking to jumpstart your business and learn quick marketing strategies that you can take with you to increase sales, reach, and growth. I'm Andrew Hayes.
I'm Joel Schmitz.
And we are joined today again by a fantastic guest. It's our Chief Marketing Officer and co-founder of Viral Solutions. Welcome, Thomas von Ahn.
Wow, that's a cool introduction, man.
Welcome,
right?
I should hire you guys.
Maybe you should.
Thank you.
Well, we wanted to bring you on today because as a co-founder of a business, and would you say that it's a small business, you've done it, you've had to do something before called competitive analysis, I'm sure.
Yeah. Lots of competition out there, and this is something that a lot of small business owners, which, by the way, the federal government defines if you're under 500 million. So that's a lot of people, but we look at it as anybody that's under 25 million. All of us have competition, and this is a part that I think a lot of us, myself included, just go, hey, we're going to rock this. I got great people, great ideas, great products, so on and so forth. I'm going to dominate the world, take all kinds of revenue, and then, there's people out there that compete against me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then what was kind of something that you had to do first when, first starting out your business and trying to look at some of the competition that you had to look at?
Yeah, pricing was a big thing. So we're a service business, which means we don't have physical goods. And when you're a service business, then you're in essence getting paid for brain power, time. There are three factors a service business considers when pricing their goods, and that is the amount of time from when it's, say, purchased or requested to it's finished, the quality of work, and then the price. And whether you're a marketing agency or an accountant or a lawyer or anything like that you've got a non-physical good, you have to consider these three things. Generally, the number one thing you start out with is you can let your client or customer control two of those three, and then you, the firm, do the opposite. And so we had to build that into our processes. So it's like this. We know that to be competitive, currently today, we're looking at collecting somewhere around $90 an hour for our services.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are occasions where we might be able to do it quicker, or it's a competitive situation, or we're given a nonprofit discount. And so let's say I get 10 other agencies bidding on something. So if we choose to drop the price, remember those three things. That means our quality or delivery time is going to be extended.
Oh, okay.
So if you, for example, when you go to price things like this competitively, if you want it fast and you want high quality, it's not cheap. If you want it cheap and high quality, it's not fast.
That makes sense.
Those are the things we had to build in when we started.
Okay.
How long did that process start? Did you start that right when you started the business, or was that something before?
Yeah.
So then I'll go back to that question then. How long did that take you then before you started the business? How long did you look at that kind of competitive analysis when everything that you need to look at?
Probably 3 to 6 months.
Really?
It's pretty extensive. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of just research, hard research. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll kind of go into a little bit of what you need to look at. And for anybody out there, because I know, we're a digital marketing firm and an agency, so it was probably very different for every type of business out there,
Yeah.
but we'll give you the general gist.
Yes.
So that you can start it for your business now, whether you are just starting out, before you're starting out, or maybe even now.
We're going to talk about Porter's 5 competitive forces. It was created in 1979 and it's accepted all over the marketing world about how to reach profitability.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and there's 5 of them, obviously. So, and this is something we can go into more depth in later on in different podcasts. But there's one specifically about competitive rivalry, and that's kind of some things that you look at: the similarities, differences, features, prices, and warranties. Tom, can you talk a little bit about that?
So with competitive rivalries, all of us have competition. I know some of us like to think we don't, or we're so successful, or so on and so forth, but we really do. And the consumer has a lot of choices today. I mean, the internet has opened that up. It's taken down walls, barriers, state, county, municipal, even national boundaries for you to expand your business. But then that also means your competitor has access to yours. So here, Porter is saying you've got to look at people who are similar to yours, and then how are you going to differentiate yourself? Then your features and benefits and pricing come into play. Remember, people don't buy features, they buy benefits. And so that's how you need to structure your product or service. And you need to take a look at how your competition phrases it, presents it, puts it into pictures, video, how hands-on they are, or maybe you're selling a product that's what we call a commodity. So to me, a commodity are things like a 2x4, gasoline, a gallon of milk. I mean, it doesn't change a whole lot, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So commoditized versus non-commoditized, these are all the issues you need to take into consideration when you're researching competition.
Okay.
So then let's define competitive advantage then in the marketplace. So we have cost value, and that's like, while you can't rely on the low prices alone to win the loyal base of the customers, it's certainly kind of a great place to start, right?
That's right.
So people want to feel like they're getting a good value
That's right.
for the price that they spend for a product or service.
Right.
So then we move on to differentiation. And it's imperative for small businesses to kind of find a way within their industry or niche to be totally unique. And that's something that you talked about.
Right. And that uniqueness and niche, it can be in how you package your product or service. It can also be your team or staff is unique. So for example, at Viral Solutions, a lot of our competition uses people in India, Pakistan, the Philippines. We are all US, Canada based, and the majority of our staff have college degrees. So those are little differentiators that you've got to put together and push home.
Do you think what makes us different, that's really setting us apart? Like that's what makes us excel?
So what you want to do what you want to do in a niche is you want to find something that makes you different from at least 3/4 of your competitors. So there are people out there that do what we do, but when you look at the whole marketplace, only 1/4 of them or less.
Wow.
So then there's one more in part of competitive advantage, and that's focus. So there should be at least one firm focus within your industry on a set of goals and a strategic plan, which of course we've always talked about on this podcast is planning and having a strategy behind your business. And that helps everyone in your organization believe that you can truly be the best at what you do.
That's right. So we like to talk about the fact that there's the tactical side of marketing yourself. That's the tools you put together, the software you use, whether you're in person or not. But really, the strategic side is probably more important. And the strategic side all goes into who's my target market? Why are they after our services? And then you even want to niche and narrow them down to, say, certain industries or age groups or urban, suburban areas of the country, things of this nature. You don't want to try and be everything to everybody. I mean, I recognize that, going after 50 million people sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
but you're talking a national average of advertising rate of about $4.56 per person times that number.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then times about 7 that it takes to get the attention of one. If you got that kind of money, great. Most of us small businesses don't.
Yeah.
So yes, you've got to focus. You've got to drill down, and your future customer will also really appreciate that.
Okay. So get specific as possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's something, again, we can always go over in a future episode as well, if you guys would want to see that. And you can always reach out to us on anything that you want us to talk about at viralsolutions.net. But so now that we kind of defined competitive advantage and competitive analysis a little bit, let's give some actionable tips for our small business owners out there and our nonprofit leaders about how to start doing that competitive analysis.
So you can do a lot of this online. Now, if you're a big company, there's firms like LexisNexis.
Yeah.
There are, let's say your competitor is a public corporation, then there's what's called 10K filings with the SEC. If your competitors are smaller than that, good old-fashioned Google search, or there's things like SEMRush that can show you what they're spending on advertising, what they're using for keywords in their content, and how they're doing their SEO work. Social media is quite open. So that's one of the advantages and disadvantages of being a small business is you've got a lot of open source things that you can take a look at.
And also your competitors can also look
do
at
the
yours
same.
as
That's
well.
correct.
True.
Yeah.
Always keep that in mind. Yeah.
It's kind of like the
We
best
all tend to forget that part.
best Googler wins. But okay, so you, Tom, you mentioned to me about looking at business KPIs.
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about that? What does that mean?
So KPI, key performance indicators. We're going to give you access to a tool we use called Wicked Reports. They're based out of Connecticut, and they are just amazing at keeping track of a dashboard of your business. So you do all this research and you set up your niche and you make yourself different and unique, and you really work hard on your content and your pricing and everything. Well, how do you know it really works? Measure.
Looking at the data.
Put it together and then measure it. When you find things that aren't hitting the goals you want, then go tweak something. That might be wording, title, pricing, the video, something like that. But don't tweak too much at once or you won't know what made the difference.
Yeah, because then you'll just be confused.
That's correct.
About, okay, well, what changed? I changed 50 things about my business. Now I'm like, okay, now what do I?
Is this
what
the
happened?
same as A/B testing?
So A/B testing is where, say in an email or a text message, you're sending out different versions. So you're changing the subject line or the graphics, maybe both. And then you're measuring which one performed better based upon an open or a click-through rate. So that's a form of a KPI.
Oh, okay.
Other KPIs would be what's your cost per lead. That's somebody who gave their contact info but didn't buy from you. What's your earnings per lead? So that lead turned into a customer. What is your return on investment? So I invested, say, $60,000 in a month in advertising and I did $1 million in revenue. So that's like a 15-to-1, and you can find ratios between that. You can also measure what's called lifetime value, one of what we believe should be one of your favorite metrics. And a lifetime value means what did the average customer spend with you in the life of being a customer. Now, if they made one purchase an hour ago, that's their lifetime value. If they made one to endless numbers of purchases over 5 years, you add all of that up, that's that person's lifetime value. But a good lifetime value is you take all your customers, all your revenue, divide it by your number of customers, and you come up with a holistic lifetime revenue. And what that helps you with is then you can budget for marketing and advertising based on that. So most companies will spend, if they just want to maintain where they're at, they will spend anywhere from 7 to 10% of their revenue on marketing and advertising. Companies that really are on an acceleration growth curve, they're trying to, wipe out competition. They're spending 25 to 30% of their revenue or their lifetime value. So it can be a big change, big difference, but you've got to know what these numbers are. And Wicked Reports will help you put a dashboard together to really make that happen. Now, you got to have great tools. You got to have things that they can connect to. You've got to be tracking everything. So if you're a brick and mortar and you got a cash register, that thing needs to tie in and it needs to know who your customer is, which is why a lot of people use rewards programs so you can track that. Okay?
Now
But
you
those
know.
Now I know.
Those are great KPIs.
So then let's go on to something that a business owner could be doing now, because, you know, if we talk about key performance indicators, that's a lot for just a small business owner to maybe kind of grasp onto.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot there to look at, as we just talked about. But one that we could probably do now would be maybe some SEO competitive analysis if you're trying to boost your traffic online.
That's right. So keyword search in Google, people trying to find you that don't know you exist. This is why you want to use tools like this, so you can find out how competitive is a search phrase, things like that. And for those who go, boy, I'm just not sure how that works, or so on and so forth, because that can get to be simple but yet complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
You could also start out with, let's say you're just really at a fundamental level. Maybe you've only been going for a little while, or you were doing great and all of a sudden you've seen this big drop off. Get your customers and the people who didn't buy from you what we call an NPS survey. It's Net Promoter Score. It's one question. You've probably all seen it before, where it goes, hey, how likely are you to recommend me to your friends, family, so on and so forth?
Definitely had those little 1 to 5 star thing. Yeah. Okay.
Almost every day. Yeah.
Super powerful. So it's 0 to 10, right?
Yeah.
Net Promoter Score. So here's how it works. If you were given a rating of 8, 9, or 10, that's called a promoter. In other words, they would promote you. Okay.
Okay.
6 and 7 get thrown out. It's considered somebody on the fence.
Yeah.
Anything below that is called a detractor. So they're taking the promoters minus the detractors, and then they're giving you a score. Here's how you rate. And it's an awesome way of identifying real fast, do I have a problem with how I promote my business, price my products? Competitive, because really the person that's giving you this grading is going, I'd rather buy from somebody else.
Yeah.
They're going to be honest with you.
That's correct. And I love this tool because it's one question. It's not answer all of this stuff. That's a great way to identify, as we go back to Porter's 5 pieces, where do I start? What really is my problem? Or do I even have a competitive problem?
So then what would be a good tool for that then? To
if you Google search NPS scores, there's tons of them out there. And I'd say 80% of them are free.
Oh, good.
Now they're going to have your own ads on them and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
There are also paid tools you can integrate with your email providers. A lot of them have this tool. It's that popular.
We'll link some resources for you in the show notes as well if you want to look at some of those services. But let's go back to, again, SEO competitive analysis. If we're just going to, kind of bring that back and talk about maybe what a good tool would be to use. We already mentioned it, but a good tool to use to look at your SEO competitive?
So SEMRush or Ahref, which is Ahref, are what we consider two of the best. And this is going to help you find gaps, and mostly gaps in content. I mean, when I talk to prospective clients, they're like, oh boy, here I got to write 100 blogs. Well, that's in Web 2.0, that's where we're at. Content is still king. It's how you get found. I know your imagery is great, your videos are great, but frankly, Google search, Bing search, Yahoo search, people use key phrases to find you. And these tools can help you describe what they're really looking for.
Can you give me an example of what you might find for SEMrush?
So what you typically want to be doing is trying to find what your competitor is not doing. Easy to find what they are doing.
Right.
And then you want to kind of exploit that gap. And here's what we tend to find works the best. Look at your competitor and how much do they talk about themselves, rather than talk about, here's how much we can benefit you, the customer, looking at us. And that tends to change up the words and the phrases that you use, because people that are going to try and find you through search are people who are saying, I have a pain or a problem, I'm looking for a solution. And that's the key words. When most people will go, hey, look at me, I'm cool, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah,
they're just showing off.
That's right.
Do you think backlinks are a good strategy here?
They can be.
Well, let's first talk about what a backlink is for anyone who doesn't know what that is.
Yeah, good idea. So a backlink is where there's another website, and they're typically news organizations or complementary websites that link to your website and typically a specific page. Okay?
So they come to you
That's
through
right.
that website.
That's right.
So then what is looking at backlinks? Is that a good strategy to look at in terms of competitive?
It is, but it can easily be overused. So Big Brother Google, keep in mind that they look at backlinks as a marginal strategy, and they don't give it a lot of weight. They're looking at the quality of the link, not quantity. So a massive backlink then would be, say, Fox News or CNN, right?
Yeah.
Massive.
Massive, good quality sites.
Yep. And let's say you're selling pet supplies. So they've done an article on who's the top online distributors of pet supplies. I mean, that would be the nirvana of backlinks. That's what you want to try and get.
So what we're not saying here is don't create another website and just start linking all your stuff to it with nothing on it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay, so there we go. That's kind of an overlook of what you can do now as a small business owner to look at some competitive analysis, and just starting with SEO. So to kind of recap again, looking at websites like SEMRush or Ahrefs? Ahrefs.
Ahref.
And looking up, what would you look up? What would you type in there?
So I would try to start finding out what is it that the questions are being asked about your service. Ask your customers, how'd you find us? What search did you make to do that? There's also a website called Answer the Public. You can just put in keywords about what it is you sell, and it'll
see what
tell you
people
what people are questions are asked. Then you can plug that into these other tools, and now you start to see how this comes together.
And you get the bigger picture.
That's right.
We'll have all those services and websites in the show notes for you to look at, so you can start it right now with your business. I think we've pretty much covered it right now. And I'm sure we can always go into more detail. So if you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to us at viralsolutions.net. There's that little blue chat bubble at the bottom. Click that button, reach out, and we can answer anything for you. We are here for you. All right, so Tom, thank you so much for being here yet again.
Wow, this is really cool, you guys.
Always fun when you're here.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for giving us a job.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Wow, that was very informative.
I know.
like that.
It's always good to have Tom on. He's such a good kind of encyclopedia of marketing and business
He knows
knowledge.
everything, for sure.
We're so lucky to have him as
Absolutely.
a boss, and he's taught us so much.
Thanks for hiring us, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. So let's talk a little bit about what he kind of discussed today, because it was a lot, and it might be a little bit hard to kind of distinguish. Okay, what do I need to do right now?
Right.
What can I do now for my business?
For sure. One thing I took away was the NPS. Do you remember what that stood for?
Yeah, the Net Promoter Score.
Net Promoter Score, yes.
Yeah.
That just seemed very simple, easy thing that you could do. Like Tom said, you could Google it. There's even free ones out there. And like he said, just one question, very simple. I've had surveys in the past, 5 or 10 questions. Those are a little too much.
Yeah, too much time. I don't want to waste that much time.
Especially what it gives back to you. I mean, you can find out your detractors, who is going to leave you for your competition, and who already has left you for your competition.
Yeah, and then you can kind of use that to see, okay, well, these people are not, sticking with my brand. They're going to my competitor. Okay, so now let's look and see what my competitor's not doing. This is where we do the competitive analysis. And for example, what you could do right now as a small business owner is doing, SEO competitive analysis, or looking at what people are saying about your products and services.
Yes.
So what was one of those websites that you can kind of see what's going on, what people are saying?
Answer the Public.
Yeah.
I think that's a great one he talked about.
Yeah.
It's just very simple. You type in your service and you could find out what people are talking about it, or your competition, and then you can find those niche areas that people are talking about, maybe fill those gaps.
So then you bring that into a service like SEMRush or Ahrefs, and that's when you can see, okay, what keywords are most competitive, what are people using, what are people not using, and that's where then you kind of fill that in on your end, so that you can rank higher in maybe Google and maybe other search indexes and stuff like that.
Right.
So those are some good resources for you, and we'll have them linked down in the video description and in the podcast show notes if you want to check them out. And then also you can go to viralsolutions.net, Joel.
Absolutely. If you have a suggestion or an idea, just hit that chat bubble and let us know.
Yeah, and that's all linked for you in the show notes. And then if you even want a little more help, okay, because we know competitive analysis pretty well now, and so does all of our team here at Viral Solutions. You go to viralsolutions.net, click the free marketing audit button, and we can do a full 50-point marketing audit of your
50
business.
points.
Yeah, and you can see where your pain points are, where your weaknesses and strengths, and we're here to help with that. viralsolutions.net. All right, Joel, I think that's it.
All right. I'm Joel Schmitz.
And I'm Andrew Hayes. Thank you for joining us this week on The Obsessed Marketer. Hey, make sure to go give us a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to let us know what you think of the show. We always want to hear your feedback. And until next week.
See you next time.
See ya.
The Obsessed Marketer is a production of Viral Solutions and produced by Andrew Hayes, Holland Berkey, and Joel Schmitz. Give us a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to let us know what you think. And send any topic suggestions to viralsolutions.net. Just click the blue chat bubble at the bottom of the page. Visit viralsolutions.net for more information on how to strategize, execute, and grow your business. And subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen.